TNA Throwback 71, and it's time to quickly recap the Lockdown pay-per-view, which happened last week, and move on to the post-pay-per-view Impact. So, the second biggest pay-per-view of the year actually did great as far as buys go, 85% overall. So, the undercard started with Gail Kim beating Sarita via holding onto the ropes to retain the Knockouts Championship. Then um, the show continued with a singles match between Matt Morgan and AJ Styles for the man advantage for the Little Lockdown, where Matt Morgan won via Bischoff interfering. Prize Fighter Ray defeated Scott Steiner to retain the Global Championship. Crimson and Joe defeated the Guns and Loki and Eddie Kingston to retain the tag titles. Austin Aries defeated Robbie E to win the X Division Championship in an Ultimate X. Jeff Hardy and his returning and debuting brother Matt Hardy, that I have signed from WWE, faced RVD and Jerry Lynn and picked up the victory. We got Mr. Anderson defeating Carlito in their blow-off match in a steel cage. The Little Lockdown match where Abyss, Gunnar, Morgan, and Devon and Jordan, that were World Congregation on Bischoff's team, faced Styles, Daniels, Cass, Storm, and Root. That was Heyman's team, the originals. And the stake was that the authority position was on the line, because the last couple of months we got Heyman coming in and making some changes, but he still hadn't taken over the whole show. So AJ Styles actually won the match by pinning Abyss, so Bischoff should step down. And in the big main event, we got Jay Lethal finally beating the Pope, who was the world champion since November. And he was really a champion who was a weak champion. He only retained due to interferences through cheatings. He finally got his revenge. I guess finally retribution for Jay Lethal and all his efforts. And he won after a figure of 4, and that was his new finish. So this was the pay-per-view. The good guys won. Heyman has been restored to power, or I guess he kicked Bischoff out of power. As we can see, the Lockdown fallout. Jay Lethal has become the new world champion, and we, I guess, open the new page to a new beginning here. So TNA Impact April 21st. Fallout from the pay-per-view. We opened the show with a video package that featured Lethal's road to success. So this show is all about Jay Lethal, all about the appreciation for the guy. The whole point of the Lockdown series, the whole point of the build-up to the pay-per-view was to make a star in somebody, and I choose Jay Lethal to be this man. Because the Pope was a champion for a long time. He had his faction behind him. He had Bischoff behind him. He had Brian Hebner, who was the corrupted referee. He had a very long title reign. He retained the title over the likes of Angle, over Sting multiple times. So we needed a credible guy. We needed to make someone a star by beating him for the world title. And I think this title reign of the Pope really served a good purpose here, because if this was real life, Lethal would have been very over. So Lethal announced the championship celebration with the likes of Sting and Flair that would take place at the end of the show, when Kurt Angle interrupted. So Kurt congratulated him, but he vowed for a title shot because, as you guys remember, the last match of the Lockdown series was Angle versus Lethal, and whoever won should have faced the Pope. This was the go-home show, and Lethal actually beat Angle with a figure 4, and that's how he reached this title match with the Pope and winning world title. So of course Lethal, as the babyface champion, was about to make a deal, but the Pope interrupted them. He said he'll use his rematch clause for sacrifice, so Angle will be on the back burner. So this was the first confrontation between Angle and Lethal, but we are first going to make the rematch for the pay-per-view at Sacrifice, because the Pope is obligated to have a rematch since his title reign was very long. So we will do the Pope versus Jay Leto at Sacrifice first. But the point of this segment is to show that Angle has respect for Leto and he wants a title shot to try him out. Then we got a #1 contendership match for the Global Championship. Carlito defeated Scott Steiner, Chris Daniels, and Gunner. Carlito, we have to move on with him. He lost the feud to Anderson, but we will put him in a program for the global title, and this is the perfect opportunity to do so. Then we cut backstage. Morgan confronted Angle and said he has no business asking for a title shot, so a brawl began. And Morgan has a point, because Angle really didn't do anything. He lost his championship shot by losing to Leto at the Lockdown Series finals. So he really has no business. The Pope has much more right to cash in his rematch clause. So this may lead to a short program between Morgan and Angle. We're gonna see where this leads. And Morgan is pretty much the Pope's right hand. So this probably was directed by the Pope, so Morgan can distract Angle and switch him off this program where he wants to have a shot with Leto. Then we got Matt Hardy beating RVD via small package. Matt Hardy, who returned or debuted at Lockdown, so the Hardys are reunited. Then Jerry Lynn attacked him. This led to a 2-on-1 on Matt. Jeff made the save with a steel chair, and RVD and Lynn retreated, so this program will continue. We still haven't done the final encounter between Jeff and RVD, who've been feuding since January. Sarita cut a promo challenging Gail to a best of 5 starting next week. Gail accepted. I just really don't have any bright ideas for the Knockouts division right now. I'm probably at max going to give them one segment a show. Austin Aries, the new ex-champion, taking on Kazarian in a non-title match, and he won via Brainbuster. They showed respect for each other. Tag match, LAX, Homicide and Hernandez with Eric Young defeated the new team of Shannon Moore and Christian York. Shannon Moore and Christian York have similar hairstyles. And they're both... they actually got suggested by the Road agent, and he said that they may be a good team together, so I've just put them together for the sake of it. So the next segment, Bischoff gathered the World Congregation one last time and called them useless pieces of garbage. Bischoff will officially leave his place as an authority figure next week when Heyman takes over. So the whole thing where Bischoff will give out all his power and leave it all to Heyman will happen next week. It's gonna be kind of a ceremony. I decided to do it next week because this show was all about making appreciating Leto and focusing on him winning the world title. And if I would have done this on this show, it would have been an overkill. I think this whole thing with Bischoff leaving and Heyman taking his place and basically the World Congregation dissolving should start next week, because these angles are pretty big and can't be just put on the one show. It's gonna be really overblown. We had the Pope taking on Mr. Anderson, and he won by a DDE after distraction by Gunner. So my whole idea is for Mr. Anderson to feud with Gunner for next month, because I have plans for Anderson, but we need to first go through something I want with Leto, and then we'll probably get him back into the title picture. But Anderson needs a fewer feud, because after his whole feud with Carlito, I have been putting him on the side, and he needs something to elevate him. Heyman came out, he thanked his Lockdown team, Styles, Daniels, Castro, and Root. Beer Money came out, they thanked him for the opportunity, they earned his trust, so they get a chance tonight to win a shot at the World Tag Titles. Then I guess for no reason we got a loser leaves TNA match. It's a first blood. Abyss defeated Orlando Jordan, then destroyed him by choke slamming him through the ramp. This match really has no reason to take place, but I'm getting rid of some of the guys at the end of the month. I think Orlando Jordan is leaving, Creed is leaving. I don't need any of these guys anymore. The World Congregation stable is dissolving. Abyss will take his own path. Gunner will probably feud with Anderson. The Pope has still his world title shot, but he may remain with Morgan at his side since they're a good combination. Because they're both heels and they have teamed up for the last couple of months. So yeah, the Pope and Morgan maybe will remain as some sort of a thing, but all the other guys will do his own thing. Devon will go his own way. Yeah, this table has no reason to exist anymore because Bischoff is out of power. They lost the lockdown match and they're pretty much washed up, so we need something new on this show. This is not like Immortal where they kept them for like a year and a half, which was pretty stupid. Then we got a backstage segment. Robbie was with Christy Hemme. He grieved over losing his X title and he wanted his rematch at Sacrifice. The main event was a #1 contendership for the World Tag Team titles. Loki and Kingston defeated the Guns and Beer Money via help from LAX and Eric Young. And although I haven't mentioned this in quite a while, the Teamfight Club stable is still a thing. So LAX, Eric Young, Loki, and Kingston are still a stable. It's just that for the past couple of months, for the past couple of weeks, I have been focusing on the Lockdown series mainly and the programs leading to the pay-per-view, and I haven't really mentioned that they're still a thing, and I have focused exclusively on Loki and Kingston as challenging team for the World Tag titles. But soon I'm gonna get them back together. Here is the first step. They will win by interference from their guys. And I will probably do something with these guys because this is the only active stable. I don't think that Styles, Daniel, Scott, Storm, and Root will remain as a stable. This was kind of a pay-per-view deal only to team up with Heyman and get rid of Bischoff. So the real main event segment was Jay Leto's championship celebration. He got endorsed by Sting, Flair, Heyman, and AJ Styles. Leto thanked the fans for believing in him and Flair for teaching him the figure 4 leg walk. And I wanted to do this because Leto has been using the figure 4 since the semifinals of the Lockdown series, and we needed some sort of an explanation for where he got it. So Flair basically gave him the figure 4 so he can use it. This is kind of a feel-good segment, so yeah, this was Jay Leto Appreciation Night. He's a new champion, and we're gonna see what happens. We got 3 weeks from now on till the Sacrifice pay-per-view, which take place on May 15th. Yeah, the Sacrifice is on May 15th, so stay tuned. This was the Lockdown pay-per-view Fallout.